Biur Chodesh. Explanation on the Mimer that talks about tomorrow is the new moon. Now the 12 lunar months, Shisha Bekayitz, there's 6 in the summer, Bechina Achas, that's one concept, Shisha Bechoref, Bechina Acheres, and the 6 months of the winter are a different concept. I'm Bahar Maz of Parsha states, Daf Rishain Zayin Amud Beis B'dibur HaMaschil V'inun Yud Beis Yarchin. Look what the Ramaz has to say about the 12 months. V'heim Bechinas Yud Beis Gvuli Alokson, and there, this is the concept of the 12 boundary of diagonals. Gvura B'netzach V'ahava Behod. The Gvura is the diagonal on the left, is diagonals downwards to Netzach on the right side. And Ava, the Chesed, on the right side, diagonals downwards to the Hod on the left side. It's a concept of a diagonal, to include the left within the right, which, as the Zohar says, is the purpose. Just like you draw a diagonal from this point to that point, from that line, from this line to that line. It's all for the purpose of inclusion, one and the other. Look what it says about this, an explanation in the Maamar of Parshas Bamidbar about each man on his flag. It's talking about the Shvatim and how you have 12 Shvatim and how they're arranged and so forth. Also in the drush of the Miluim. Gabe Shema Shube Milui Alfin, where it talks about Shema, that Shema is Hashem's name spelled with olives. Yudvav Dalid K Aleph and so forth. Sheba Aleph Holicha Kav Ba'alachsam Mehasmal Alayami, that if you look at the Aleph, the diagonal of the line in the Aleph goes from the left side to the right side, from top to bottom. Hainu mehagvura lenetzach hain sham, that is from gvura to netzach. Look over there. V'hinei kol hiskalulus amidos. This is also brought in derech mitzvosecha, mitzvos korban pesach. V'hinei kol hiskalulus amidos ulios nimshach lidibor b'chinas malchus. Now, all inclusion of the emotional attributes, one and the other, it's in order to bring it down into the speech, which is the idea of malchus. V'yesh b'chinas malchus ta'atzilus b'chinas shem kel shin dalid yud, and you have the concept of malchus and atzilus. And in atzilus, the malchus corresponds with the name kel shin dalid yud. Whereas in other worlds, it's Kel Havaya or Kel Adnai or whatever. Ubechinas Havaya b'nikud melupum, and that also corresponds with the Shem Havaya when you spell it with melupum. That also corresponds with Malchus of Atzilus. Now it seems that Tzemach Tzedek is bringing this down from the Alter Rebbe. And he asks a question, this needs to be scrutinized, that in all places it seems that David is Malchus of Atzilus. So this is going back on the Maamar of how Yehonathan and David are Yesod Malchus in general. I'm sorry, I skipped. So let's go back. There's a concept of Malchus of Atzilus, and there's a concept of Malchus of Bria Shubechinas Shem Havaya B'nikud Chirek. That is not in Shem Havaya with Melupum, it's with Chirek. V'bechinas David Shu Malchus de Bria, and that's the concept of David, which is Malchus de Bria, and so that's where he has the question. But in general, we say that David is Malchus of Atzilus, not Malchus of Bria. And here in this Maamar, we say that, Chirek is Havaya of Chirek is David of Malchus Bria. We can say the Kanmairi bebechinas David Yehonathan. That here we can say that this David of Malchus of Bria is David and Yehonathan that was before Kodim Shemalach David. That's before David became king. As Hayadain Rak bebechinas Malchus of Bria. That then he was only Malchus of Bria. Melech, and when David became king al Yisrael upon Israel, Zachal bechinas Malchus de Atzilus, he merited the concept of Malchus of Atzilus. That's explained in Zohar, that he had to be in Hebron for 7 years first before Yerushalayim, in order to connect to the Avos. That is, that he had to do some different types of service until he merited to be the level of Malchus of Atzilus. Yehonathan bechinas Yisod Zod Bria, and Yehonathan corresponds with Yisod of Zerampin of Bria. I guess not Yisod of Atzilus. Yisod Zod Atzilus Nikra Yosef, because Yisod of Atzilus is a different level. Yisod Zod of Atzilus is Yosef. Yisod Zod Atzilus umashpil on Malchus Atzilus, just like Yisod Zod Atzilus gives over to Malchus of Atzilus. Zeu inyan Yosef li Yehuda, and that's the concept of Yosef to Yehuda. And Yehuda can also be David, I guess. Like it says in Parshas Vayigash, into me, my master. Yehuda is asking for hashpah from Yisod of Yosef. Yosef Nosan Gamkin LeDavid Lamed Zayin Shana. Mishnei Chayev, so Yosef gave to David 37 years from the years of his life, like Avraham and Yaakov gave. Kach Yisod Zod Bria Mashpil Malchus to Bria, just in the same way Yisod Zod Bria, Yehonathan gives over to Malchus of Bria, David, before he became king. And the reason that he's called Yehonathan, a language of a gift, which is in Bria Kimatana Yesh Lehefsek Upirud Kidor, because a gift is not like an inheritance that can be stopped, and there's a separation, as is known. And like as is known, the difference between the blessing between sages of Israel and sages of all the nations. There's the blessing that he apportioned from his wisdom, or that he gave from his wisdom. That is, that he divided means to say that it's truly a part of his light. So that the portion is truly united with his essence. That's the concept of Atzilus. That's like a flame attached to a flame, or it says on the bottom, on the Shulei Galayon, in general, the expression is Keshal Heves Hagshura Begacheles, like a flame that's attached to a coal. But here it says a flame attached to a flame. But at any rate, the point is that it's united with its source. It's a chelik. V'zeu chelik havaya amo, and that's the concept of the portion of Hashem is his nation. Chelik dafka, specifically a portion. Kimikor Hashemus me'atzilus, because the root of the souls is from Atzilus. V'zeu shekaz b'Yaakov anochi ish chalakhu. That's why it says by Yaakov that I am a smooth man. But he uses the word chalak because he's also from the concept of chelik. But the concept of the give, it's a concept of separation. Because in the world of Bria it says that from there it divides. Therefore Yisod Zav Bria is called Yehonathan, the gift, and because it's a concept of separation. David gives over to David Shubechinas Malchus Vubechinas Levana, which is the concept of the moon. Yisrael Munin Levana, and Yisrael count according to the moon Bechinas Malchus, which is the concept of Malchus. That the moon does not have anything from its own at all, that it gets a gift from the Mashpia, the concept of the sun, shines to the moon. And the concept is bechinas bittul, the state of nullification, kamo melech, just like the king, shakol mishtachavin elav bechinas bittul, that all bow down to him. That's the concept of nullification. L'chein b'midas malchus lo haya shviras hakelim. That's why in malchus you did not have the breaking of the vessels. It's because it's a state of bittul. Bittul to him, and the king is also bittul. Rak ara ispatalas, only the earth was desolate, but the earth was still there. There was nothing in the earth, no hashpat to the earth, but the earth was there. The king, the breaking was in the 7 kings, the 7 midos. Shemidas ad yesod, that the attributes from das until yesod, velo b'malchus, but not in malchus. Reinu machmas shebechinas bittul, that because it's in a state of bittul or hayaba shvira, did not have a breaking. Kimasha shvira sekelim b'zayin midos anal, because this that you had breaking in the 7 attributes. So mipnei bechinas hayesh, it's because they had a state of existence. Shaya b'midos elav elu, that you had in these attributes, they had a certain, so to speak, haughtiness. K'mo chesed, who, like the concept of it is kindness. Perhaps it's also hinting to the concept of the arayos, where it says that you're not allowed to do that because chesed hu. That implies that chesed on its own has a midah meguna. Yesh hu yesh v'chein, but that's a concept of haughtiness. V'chein pachad chuluso, to fear. Aval malchus hu yira bittul hayesh, but malchus is fear of a state of nullification of the existence. Look what it says also in Parshas Vayakel on the verse, take from them truma gam beparshas bahar al pasuk v'shav haaretz. So to Parshas Bahar, on that the earth rested, the earth should rest, and the Shemitah is good inyan ara is patalas. It also mentions this idea that the earth is desolate, meaning to say during Shemitah you don't work it. It's a similar idea. I guess you have 7 years and then Malchus, and the earth lies fallow. And from this is also drawn down to the world of Beriah, to the angels and the souls and the hosts of heaven bow down to you. For Malchus, the bittul of Malchus is felt in the worlds below. So in short, we explained the 12 months of the moon, Gvuli, the 12 diagonals, which are in the emotional attributes, because from the emotions comes to the speech, to Malchus, to David, like Yehonathan said to David, Machar Chodesh. That's the concept of Yehonathan and David. Atam, and the reason is the Levana Islam Megarma Klum, that the moon doesn't have anything on its own. Ki Madregas Malchus Bechinas Bittul, because the level of Malchus is a state of nullification. Therefore, Malchus did not have a state of breaking of the vessels, because it's bittul. Therefore, she is in hod. Hod is which is the concept of Malchus, is acknowledgement and bittul. So in general, feminine is a concept of bittul, like Malchus, and that's why she is in hod. Ihu benetzach, ihi behod.